to start this recording with talking about the sacredness of your birth. And, a lot of us, obviously, we're all born. And so, in your book, Coming Home, How I Courageously Loved Myself into a Life of Wonder and Ordinary Magic, you start so beautifully with your birth. So I'd like you to share a bit, Chiron, about what led you up to the moment when you looked back at your birth and realized the impact it had on who you were in that moment.
Wow, birth is such a sacred thing, and I think our modern society has, in a way, reduced it to be a physical thing that is being born out of a mother, when more than just a physical birth, more than just having a body and a human being out of a mother's womb, is actually an incarnation of the soul, right? The spirit descending from the ethereal realm to the physical space. It is when spirit is integrated into matter, right? Our bodily cells infused with consciousness and life and light even. And on top of it all is love. So I had always been wondering about myself, about why am I so different from everybody else? Why is my experiences so different? Because growing up with a chronic skin problem, when it's a skin thing, it's much more evident in from people's perspective, right? Why does this kid has a red skin? Why can't this kid eat what I eat? And from my perspective, it's like, why is everybody trying to control me, and why am I in such a position? So the pain of my life and the suffering of my life led me to ask deeper questions, and that made me go down this rabbit hole of digging information after information of like, how and why did this happen? One thing that I did not agree with people is that a really convenient story. Oh, it's your genes. Oh, you're just born with it. No, I wasn't born with it. I was a perfectly fine baby with perfect skin and a very healthy baby. Something must have gone wrong. Something along the lines that we do not understand yet must have went out of alignment. And it's very telling because when we have disease, that means the way we live, the way we think, the way we feel, the way we understand the world, experience the world, must have gone out of alignment. So it's such a blessing for me because I've learned astrology. And with astrology, it leads me down to my birth chart. The moment of time when, imagine if you take a photo of the sky when you're born, that's what astrology is. It's a map of how the stars are aligned in relations with the earth and during the time when you're born and the place you're born. And that led me to understand that every life has meaning. We as humans, we're not just here to live from a narrative like grow up, study well in academics, whatever that your society consensus ideas are about, or what it means to have a good life. As an Asian descent from Malaysia, the idea is grow up, study well, do well, get good grades, and get into a good college, excel in it, graduate, get a good job, get a family, and then you're done, right? I think it's more than that. So the thing with that is that astrology helped me understand that my life has meaning. And for my life has meaning, I have to go into my pain. And that led me to the birth moment. So in my chart, in astrology, I have something called the Grand Cross. And I was born during an eclipse, which in astrology, we understand times when eclipses happen, we do not get a lot of control, right? Divine intervention is in, and a higher order of life is, I wouldn't say hijacking, but it's more like interfering with our egoic expectations, break that apart to show us something greater that we do not understand. So it turns out I am that something greater for my family. I am that gift for my family. But little did I know I have to go through pain and suffering to really harvest the gem, the diamond of who I am as a gift. So that
Beautifully.
impacted my life so much because
Yes.
it was like a journey, and it led me towards many beautiful things that I would not have discovered otherwise.
Well, it's interesting because most people don't even think about how they were impacted by the birth. And then, of course, add the layer on of astrology, which, you and I both love. And so, and how that moment in time, no matter what you went through with, coming through the either the birth canal, or like one of my daughters was, a C-section, and a lot of people these days are C-sectioned out. All of that affects you. But then again, there's that, that beautiful image of, where were the planets in the moment. I know there are some people out there, not probably a lot of people listening to this podcast, who more than likely understand or, or dabble some in astrology. But, like you said, you came in during an eclipse. So let's dive into a little bit of what's coming soon, because we're coming into a very profound eclipse season, end of March 2024 into April 2024. So I'd love for you to just share a little bit of dynamics of the makeup of what we're coming into energetically, because there's a lot of people right now when we're filming this, which is in January of 2024, that are like, feeling some stuff going on. And I know eclipse seasons also have, they have a shadow, and they're, 6 months before and after or whatever. So I'd love for you to just do a little sharing on that, because I think it feels pretty appropriate, being that you're a eclipse baby.
Yeah, for sure. First of all, just explain what an eclipse is. Just for those who don't really understand what eclipse is doing in the sky, right? So eclipse is when the sun, the moon, and the earth comes into alignment, like a straight line. And what you can feel is like, imagine the sun is this source of light, and it's being amplified with a magnifying glass onto earth. So it's all this cosmic energy that is just being bombarded on earth, and that affects our emotions, that affects our way of thinking, and with this intensity, it accelerates a lot of development, transformation, growth that needed to happen a long time ago, needed to just be exponentially be done in a way that we change quickly, so that we meet where the cosmic plan that has in place for us, that needs to be done in March. By the way, eclipses happen every year, twice, 2 seasons a year, and every time it happens, people tend to make really important choices and decisions. I know my mom did, my dad did when they had me. They had to make quick decisions to adapt to the situation, which is like a crisis. So eclipse can bring crisis, but at the same time, it can bring opportunities that you've been waiting for the longest time. So it really depends on how deeply connected you are with yourself. And I know that many people think that eclipses is a time of bad omens, negative things are going to happen. Back in the days, especially during the ancient times, when the moon covers the light of the sun, and it's like pitch black during daytime. Like, how scary is that? Especially when they did worship this celestial objects of the sky as gods, right? What happened to the light? And that, to me, in this modern age, is a symbolism of how human ability to intervene with anything in their life is just being taken away from them, and a higher order has come to make shift what needs to happen. So as astrologers, we study what is the meaning of all of this, and how are we going to align to it, rather than trying to impose our ideas and try to make nature fit our plans. Actually, it's the opposite. It's a time of humility, it's a time of letting go and surrendering, so that we fit ourselves to the divine plan. So what's coming up is this really potent sun moon in Aries, North Node in Aries, Chiron in Aries. At the same time, we have Mercury retrograde in Aries. So this eclipse as well, if I'm not mistaken, crosses the United States. You guys are going through the election year and all the can intensify during that time, right? And Aries, what is Aries about? It's about it's the war. It's a thing that we tend to fight everything that comes our way, fighting for the sake of fighting, and we think that's empowerment, but we further victimize ourselves. So with the Chiron in play, the eclipse, we can feel deeply victimized by societal systems, by the people around us, by the environment that we live in, and nothing fits us because we are not taking full responsibility of our life. We wish there is some form of a savior, some form of a leader, some form of um, a higher order that could just take our pain and suffering away and lead us towards equality, fairness, and abundance for all. Those ideals are not going to come if we do not own the power within us by taking responsibility of our life. We give our power away when we blame, when we shame, when we fight for something, right? I don't deny that we need to fight during certain circumstances, but the very intention of fighting means that we're coming from a place of fear, disconnection, and that disempowers us rather than actually creating real harmony. So when we work with eclipses, it's always about balancing and integrating the polar opposite, which is Libra in this case. And rather than just saying for the sake of saying, fighting for the sake of fighting, we need to create safe spaces to hear one another, to agree to disagree, and to move through the tension and the conflict so that we can birth something new, a new perspective, a new understanding on how to respect and love one another without hurting one another. But it starts with the self.
Wow. So the first thing that comes to me is how, especially with the being the election year and all the political stuff, is that everything is so polarized, and it's been that way for a while. So it feels like
Oh,
it's
yeah.
gonna, like, almost like a pimple that's gonna go pop. At that time, it just feels that way to me. And I can share from my experience that back in, because I will be at the solar eclipse when it crosses a place in Missouri. I will be there, and I experienced the one in August of 2017. And Chiron, I swear, after that one, I know why people travel the world to be in the energy of a solar eclipse, because it is a portal. It was the most incredible feeling experience I've ever had, and so I vow that anytime I could be close to one, I was going to get there. And so I'm definitely going to be at this one. And so, and as I'm talking about it, I'm so filled with chills. Like, it feels like a powerful time. And like you're saying about, really it's about going inward and recognizing, I don't need an outside force. I need to be okay with who I am. And I think this is also stems to your book coming out, stems to where people are searching right now. People are ready to come home, which is just a beautiful, a beautiful title of your book, because that's where we're all at right now. So that's just what it feels like to me. Like, yeah, it's like, all these synchronicities are happening. And people are feeling them. So I'm definitely noticing that people are, stirred up a little bit and not quite knowing which direction to go with things. And so recognizing that there are forces in the cosmos that's going to be, I think, backing. I feel that. I feel the backing. I feel that the support from above to do whatever each person needs to do here on their journey. Do you feel the same way?
I definitely am to actually stay with Chiron and we need to Aries. Mars is traversing Pisces, and Pisces is really about unconditional love, compassion, and remembering the source of our oneness and how we are all interconnected as brothers, sisters all around the world, despite our colors, our race, our religion, our beliefs, our whatever, right? And there's one word that just keeps coming up to me when you mention your experience looking at nature, right? With an open heart and open mind, and why we it's this thing of reverence to it, and it puts us in a place of humility. Anything that touches Chiron in your chart, or when the eclipse touches Chiron, it brings this level of humility. And I guess this is why I'm aptly naming myself as Chiron, right? And with Chiron and North Node, when my book is out, really bring this message in the book, being humbled by the mysteries of the universe, that we do not know what's going on. If we keep feeling ourselves being defensive, trying to get that next piece of information to attack one another or try to find this thing to fix ourselves, we're not gonna be able to listen to the intuitive guidance from spirit, from God, from universe, from source, from nature. We're not gonna know what Mother Earth truly needs. And one thing I've mentioned is that what's not broken is you. What's not broken is the world. The world, it is what it is. But what's really truly broken is our perception of ourselves and the world, and we think that the world needs to be fixed. So until we can really come home to ourselves by shifting the way we see the world, not from a victimized lens, but from a place of love. If you can come to a place where you're reconnected to spirit, your higher self, you actually start seeing the world from a place of love. And when you see yourself and the world as a place of love, you start seeing beauty. And through that beauty, there's this inspiration of gratitude, right? Wow, this world is beautiful, and I'm seeing through my human eyes. And what happens after that is this inspiration where a creative expression that is dormant inside of you will seek you out, because it's a desire that you cannot avoid or push away, because it comes out so strongly that it changes your life forever. And this very desire is what led me take the path less traveled, to look at unconventional means to give myself that opportunity to discover things that I would not have discovered. But it takes a certain sense of humility, where I emptied my cup again and again and again. And this is what this eclipse will feel like. You think you know, but you don't. And eventually, something greater is revealed to you.
Oh man, because this is hitting my Chiron. So and in my chart. And I'm telling you, as you're talking about
Right,
this, like my
right.
whole heart, my whole being and my heart is like so filled up with energy right now. So I'm like, it's going to be humongous for me. And, that I wanted to go a minute to your book, Chiron, because this is something I really found amazing about your book is, you shared a lot of your stories of your experiences, like I said, starting with your birth and places you were in around the world, and, places that you found yourself in that you explored and go, why is this happening to me and the world? And things were revealed and things were opened up. And I found such a connection, a deeper connection to you and your journey. And that's what I love so much about reading books, about documentaries or people's lives, is that it gives me a new perspective on my life, because we're all a mirror to one another. So what you experienced, say in London or Australia, or when you were in San Diego or California area, I was there too. I mean, like I felt that way when I was reading your book, because it was so, I'm serious. And I just, I love that your storytelling, and also, and just your awareness. So one thing I do want to pop into here is one thing you shared in the book was about how awareness is medicine. And you gave a really nice paragraph, and it said, for example, when a plant grows unhealthily, oh, I'm having a lot of, hold on. I had, for a minute there was like a bunch of static, but it's gone now.
Yeah, I know.
Did you hear it?
Okay. Yeah, you're back. Yeah, I heard it. Now you're back.
Okay, so we're good. Okay. And I once in a while too, I'm getting these like little how like if you might hit something, or I don't know, you're not really hitting anything, but I hear these little statics occasionally. It's been a once or twice. So I think that's probably coming through your end or something.
Actually, I don't know.
You don't know. Okay, so we don't know where it's coming from, but that's okay.
It's all in. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, we're good. Okay, so I'll have Tom, my editor, cut that part out. Okay, so and Tom does say hi, Chiron. All right, so we'll go back to So yeah, so you share this beautiful paragraph in your book that I want to read. And so it says, for example, when a plant grows unhealthily, it isn't the plant that we need to fix. It's the soil and the conditions that the plant is living in. Similarly, it isn't the emotional pain or the symptoms of our body that we need to fix. It's the conditions of our environment that created the distress in the first place. And that's when you really learned that awareness is medicine. And that's what I felt you so beautifully shared in example after example of where you lived at and the things you experienced in your life. So I'd love for you to share a bit about your perspective of awareness is medicine.
Yeah, I think we have been so sidetracked with the real problems because we're so busy wallowing in self-pity. We're so busy wallowing in disempowerment, judgment, blame, shame. So we talk about climate crisis, we talk about food crisis. I mean, there's so many crises in the world and we just pick one, right? But fundamentally, it's the crisis of consciousness and the crisis of leadership that is the real problem that we need to work on. Because you can't fix the plant. I mean, you can cut the leaves, you can take out the pests and with pesticides and all this kind of stuff. But in fixing one problem, you're creating more problems, and it's so evident that we can see in today's world. One thing I've learned about healing is that you need to create conducive environments so that what is within you can naturally thrive to its highest potential. What's within us is this intelligence of nature. How can we beat the intelligence of nature without human technology? We can try to mimic it, but we can't create our creators. Our creators created us. So when I say awareness is medicine, I'm talking about the deep intelligence that is within each and every part of ourselves that knows how to heal, regenerate, and be whole on its own when given the right conducive conditions. And what are those conditions are, right? We can talk from the physical point of view, the mental, emotional point of view, relational point of view, and spiritual point of view. Right? And the physical point of view is like eat good food, drink good water, breathe good air, right? Fundamentals, move, sleep, rest. So on the emotional level, we need play, we need to have fun, we need to be creative, we need safety, vulnerability, the opportunity to express our authentic expressions, right? These are needs. These are not things that we give ourselves when we finish work. It should be an essential way of living. And relationally, we need that sense of attachment that it's safe. We need that sense of belonging with one another. We need to have this safety to express what's within us and draw healthy boundaries with one another. Because drawing healthy boundaries is how we teach each other to love us, right? And spiritually, we need purpose. We need faith. We need this sense that there is a greater mystery out there and we can be in reverence of it and trust that it's always taking good care of us. But are we doing it? This simple things that is free usually. Are we really doing it? Instead, what we're doing it, we are actually looking at social media for the next influencer to tell you what to do. We, instead of creating content, we are ingesting content after content, thinking that this is going to solve the problem. We take supplements. We rely on something external to fill those little holes within us when we're so powerful from within, and all we just need to do is to fulfill those needs. And when those needs are fulfilled, we thrive. We just really thrive. We become not just healthy, we start becoming such powerful beings that has this capacity to be creative and imagine new possibilities and bring and share those gifts with the world. I think that is my kind of world that I want to live in. And it's both a fortunate and unfortunate thing that I discovered this through my health journey.
Yeah, and I feel that that's where most people are at right now, in some variation, in some state, and searching and exploring, and I do feel too, and I want to dive a little bit into this, is that there's a lot of false prophets out there, but they also meet different levels of consciousness of where people are at to lead them. And that's why, I don't know, lately I'm in this creative pause right now, and I'm just kind of exploring, what's coming next. And I've been like, I want to take the word spiritual away. I want to take metaphysical away. I want to take woo woo away. I cannot stand the word woo woo. Because you know what, to me, like the spiritual part, or the unseen aspect of who we are, is part of that mind, body, spirit. It's a part of all of us. And so I'm like stripping away all these labels that I no longer want to emphasize, because I want people to really understand. And I feel a lot of this is what your book's about too, Chiron, is, coming home to yourself, and you have everything within that you need, and it's accessing that, and it's trusting that, and not looking, like you're saying, looking outside forces, to give you the answers to, there's guidance, right? There's like this, this is a beautiful expression, because you've had some guides in your life. You've had Dr. Darren Weissman, you've had Maurice Fernandez, you've had other people, you've had like soul connections like us. We bounce things off each other. And we need that. We need community. We do need mentors that are a few steps ahead of us to guide us there. But, taking that next step, which of course is individual to each person, to me is so important, because that's what's going to get you to the next step and the next step. And just like in your book, how you figured one thing out and led to the other thing and the other thing. Would you like to share a little on that?
It's life is not a perfect, it's a practice. That's what Dr. Darren always tell me. And pain, suffering, crisis, trials, tribulations, whatever way, shape, or form, we're all healing from something, right? And it's part of the system. It's part of nature's intelligence to move through the tides of enlightenment and darkness. And that's how life is. And it's we're beginning to find ourselves in such an interesting junction in time, astrologically. For those who know about this, will hear that, we're coming into the Aquarius, and there are promises around it, but there is the light of it, and there's the darkness of it.
Hold on one second. Getting a lot of like popping. Do you hear the popping? Do you hear the popping, Chiron? Yeah.
Actually, I don't. Right.
Okay. So I did hear it. And so, can you just go back and just say what you just said again? Because now it's stopped.
Okay, cool. Where do I start from again? Can you just, I don't remember what.
Yeah, I hear you. Because it was kind of like it was a stream, wasn't it? Let's see. Because what did I talk about? Let's just open up a new thing. Sorry about that, but it was really popping a lot. And again, I don't know if it's going to be heard on this or not, but I'm hearing it on my end. So,
okay, understood.
So we talked about having, people to support us on our journey. And you talked a little bit about, or in your book, about Dr. Darren Weissman and, the lifeline technique that really supported shifting a lot of aspects of inner to help that outer for yourself. I'd like you to explore a little bit about that and the benefit of, finding people along your path that really support the journey.
Oh yeah, life is a place of practice, a place to make mistakes, and we assume that we need to get it right? And we assume that once we get there, everything is going to be good, but that's not the case, right? We are always in a constant state of evolution, transformation to become the next best version of who we are. I do feel that the teachers, the people that we meet are not at all random. There's no coincidence, right? And teachers and mentors can come in different ways, shape, or forms. It could be spirit guides, it could be actual person, it could be someone down the street, it could be a stranger, and it could be someone that you look up to and you want to emulate more of, like a mentor. I remember someone down in my journey that I was in a place where I was going to give up my life, and I was just so in a place of darkness and didn't know what I needed to do because I was so confused and lost as a young man. And I was in class and learning about nature connected coaching, and there was this lady who dropped in the class. I think she was a part of a cohort before me, but she just came back to deeper in her learning. And after the whole weekend, and she was just saying, "Hey, I want to say something to you." And she said this: "You are needed in the world. You are needed in the world." And I was just like, "Are you kidding me? What do you mean?" Right? And that state of love, like deep victimization, learning the wonders of life. Yeah, I do see that there is some great stuff with coaching and meditation and love and energy work and all this kind of great stuff that's out there. But at that time, I wasn't just buying anything. I was just completely locked down in myself. And apparently, the medicine that I need was someone to just see my pain at that time. Someone to just really acknowledge that I see your humanity, and one day that your humanity is going to be shared to the world and to inspire others to come back to their own humanity. It's always during those moments that we cannot understand how we're going to move through those moments, but it's only years later, months later, that when we look back at it, it's like, I see what you're saying. It's as if spirit or God or the universe had sent someone to just pass this message to you and just go like, "Stay alive, kid. You are the best has yet to come." And that was just one story. Many moments like that. And sometimes these teachers come through a signboard or in numbers, or a bird flew by, and it's just like an intuition just kicked in. It's like, "Oh man, I gotta be in this place." And when you go there, you meet this person, and it just connected. That was how I meet Dr. Darrell Wiseman. That was how I meet Maurice, who's my astrology teacher. That's how I ended up in Peru doing ayahuasca, and in South Africa meeting the white lions. It was just following my heart one step at a time through my intuition. So you mentioned this, the outer and the inner, where all these external forces that is a mystery to me are a reflection of my higher self, of my greater spirit that is coming through me. But if we are so obsessed in our intellect, in our egoic mind and conditioning, we're not going to receive these messages. In fact, it's just going to go by us. And what I like to see right now after coming through such a long journey is that opportunities, messages are always happening. It's just that we're not in tune to it to receive it, because we're so busy, like I did once upon a time, wallowing on my own pain, self-pity, wondering why no one's here to save me, which is, now that I understand, it's like a cosmic joke. And what I found out later is just a cosmic misunderstanding. I just feel like, wow, I just misperceive life altogether, and that's it. Can life be so simple? When I really truly surrender to it, without any resistance, miracles, when I say life of wonder and ordinary magic starts to happen, because miracles is a default of life. It's an ordinary magic. It's ordinary. It's all the time happening. We just have to open our eyes clear enough, wide enough to receive and see it.
Well said, sir. And I want pulled out also a sentence from your book. It said, "The integration and embodiment of our spiritual ideas had to be followed through in our everyday behaviors and be reflected in our choices." And this is some of what you're talking about. Like, and I'm always about making things practical. Like we can go through and, and have experiences at events, and which are phenomenal, and, at different places. But it's living life like day to day, like, getting up and being, I want to be here today, and I want to feel, strength in everything I'm doing, from making, a breakfast to, having a podcast, talk and interview with Chiron. So it's like, it's that everyday magic, like you're saying, and the wonder and ordinary magic of every day that I think people are, well, I feel the world right now is in the state it's in because of it. People need to come inside and recognize that it's all a mirror. This is to me like all a big a movie set, and that everything's playing out around me. So in looking at all the chaos, well, I am part of that also. But to be okay with peace in myself and reflecting on the choices that I make, I think that's really key in that sentence is, reflecting, to be reflected in our choices is we create what's around us. And like you said that beautifully over and over in different stories in your book is, how, yeah, that realization of what's around me is from a lot of the choices we make.
Yeah. Choices defines every moment, right? Every moment is a choice, and it's an illusion or a misunderstanding, or that we think that we don't have a choice, right? I know people go when you're talking to them on their default mode, right? They say, I don't have a choice, I have to do this. Which kind of it's understandable because people are in circumstances that they are put into pressures from life, from government, from partner, from children, from anything. They feel victimized and they have no choice. Phase is that the why is because you allowed yourself to not have a choice, right? I have to say, when you are in a place where you don't have a choice, the lines of thoughts that you were thinking is coming from a triggered subconscious mind. That means it's your limited self, and you're unable to see any other options that is presented in front of you. And like you said, you want to make spiritual practical, and essentially, like you said, we can cut off the word spiritual and just name that this is the human experience, that it should be integrated as one. It shouldn't be something else or bypassing or anything. But what we can do right away is to pause. Because if you're in the reactive loop of overthinking, overanalyzing, analysis paralysis, this choice or that choice, we can weigh out the pros and cons and any results. What you need is pause. That's the first step. You become and deep breaths and repeat system so that your prefrontal cortex start of you. When you pause, you get to go into this and the is when natural intelligence of your body and the world around you is acting upon you. And when you are open, humble enough to receive it, feeling starts to happen, new possibilities starts to happen, intuition starts to happen. And if we follow that intuition, and you can know the difference because that intuition, it comes from a place of sense of peace rather than trying something, right? When you come from a place of intellect, it's always, I'm going to try this or try that. There's some level of effort and resistance around it. Drop in a place of intuition, you're calm. You know you're coming from a place of integrity, gut instinct, rather than a place of false thinking or wishful thinking. And when you act from that place of integrity, there's a place of discernment that comes through. And that is real power. And that's how it brought me from one place to another and gave me the courage to take a leap of faith, because it's just this feeling that I know the universe got me.
Well said.
I always say one thing, courage to me in the beginning wasn't something that intentionally done. I was pushed into it by life, by the universe, by circumstances of my life. I had no choice but to be courageous. But after experiencing those pain, after falling down again and again and again and again and again, I was like, I was starting to see the same patterns happening, and I started to see myself as the common denominator around all the crises that I've been through. And I was like, if I'm the common denominator, that means I can change it. And that realization just flipped the switch for me. And ever since I did that, courage became an intentional choice rather than something that is forced upon me. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. That is profound. Love it. So, I want to end this with saying a big congratulations, Chiron, because today, when we're releasing this episode, your book is released. Your book is available.
Amazing. Thank you. I'm so
Congratulations.
excited because I took 6 years to write this.
It's so good, Chiron. I mean, you're a beautiful writer, storyteller, and it's yeah, there's so many pieces, layers of it. The one layer that I really loved so much too was getting to know deep inside a millennial.
Mm,
Seriously. Like people don't think about that. I mean, they're like, oh, millennials or because I'm a Gen X and or baby boomers or whatever. But there's things that we go through with in generations that people don't understand. And you so gave an insight and a look and like I'm looking through a window and seeing, wow, this is the inside and the outside of what you experienced as a millennial. And it was really an eye opener for me. So I really want to thank you for sharing that part of your life because yeah, I mean, most people can't. Well, I think most people, or I shouldn't say most people, there are many millennials that would not be able to express it the way you did, and that deep understanding of what you experience from from the computers, working with the video games, and just the different. I mean, really, like the different aspects of being a millennial, especially a male, and coming out to realize there's a bigger picture and who I am as a soul. So kudos, well done, sir. I mean, it just really opened my eyes because I have two millennials myself, and they haven't written, and they would have a different experience than you had anyway. But just such a profound writing. I loved it so much, Chiron.
yeah, the reason I wanted to write from that perspective is so that people my age, my generation could really understand the complexity of the society that we live in. All right. It's weird because we are in this tight junction between pre-technology era of like computers, internet, and those kind of stuff, and after that, and we have to adapt so quickly. And not just us, our parents, which is I think my parents are your age too. It's like they had to adapt, and they don't know how to raise us. And I blame my parents for my issues for the longest time, and it was only through writing this book that I finally understand they tried their best and they loved me, and that I completely misunderstood them because I was just looking through the windows of my own perspective, and I didn't know how it feels like to be a parent at the time. Now here's the fun part: us millennials are coming into a place that we're entering parenthood. Most of us are, right?
Mhm.
And if there's some of us that chose not to have kids, then you gotta ask yourself why. What are you trying to avoid, and where is the pain around it? Or you could argue that we are in a place of overpopulation and those kind of stuff is going on, but at the same time, the fertility rate is going downhill at such a quick pace that if this goes on, we might even find ourselves in a place of extinction because we can't produce anymore.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's interesting that I want to give millennials, or like people, my comrades, I call them my brothers and sisters, and this message is like, despite the complexities of life and that we are required to adapt so quickly, and there's a mountain of traumas that the older generations have left behind for us to lead the world right now. As much as this burden is there, but what you need to do and what you need to focus on is just you. Turn within, find your gifts, because your gift is what the world is waiting for. Your purpose to come into the authentic, highest version of yourself is what the world needs right now. And instead of covering into our own mess, we need to rise up and be leaders in the world, because we need to show up more and start taking charge. And instead of leaving it to the old generation that is seeking to retire themselves, we need more young leaders so that we can reimagine the beautiful world that we know is possible.
Absolutely. And I feel that's why many of us are here at the moment, no matter what age we're at. Like, some are leaving, some are in the middle, some are being born, but we're all here at this moment. And it's a great time, I think. A
Yeah,
good time to
yeah.
come home, right? So,
I think this is the age where, yeah, and this is the age where more and more mentors are showing up. And as for you, Teresa, your generation, your work is not done because we need elders like you who can really guide us because you guys have something that we don't, that years
right.
of experiences, right?
Right.
Yeah,
And it's funny because many years ago when I was, first dabbling into spiritual and different things, I was having readings and people kept telling me, you'll come into really like what I'm here to do later in life. I'm like, what? But now here I am now, in my 56th year, and going, okay, yeah, it's stuff is still opening for me. So to me, it's like, well, it doesn't end till the end. Like to my final breath, I'm here to be of service of whatever way it is. So I honor that definitely, Chiron, with your generation coming up and with, my generation of, spreading the wisdom and, the things that we've learned to pass on. Cause that's what I'm here to do is pass it on. So, hey, the next generation or when I come back in and that generation shares it me, like, hey, share the wisdom that we all had back in, 2020.
right. And this is why we're both Leos, right?
Absolutely. So again, Chiron, I wanted to say congratulations. Your book is called Coming Home: How I Courageously Loved Myself into a Life of Wonder and Ordinary Magic. This is actually the third time you've been on the podcast, and every time you come on, it's just, sharing, soul brother, soul sister, infinite love and gratitude. I love you so much. And I'm just so grateful to share you again, and congratulations.
Thank you. Infinite love and gratitude.
Well, it's always fun to have my soul brother and fellow Leo, Chiron Yang, on for another sharing today. I hope that you all enjoyed it. I hope that you maybe took away a couple insights around your own journey, where you're at, upcoming astrological things with the eclipse season coming, and where we're all at as a collective. So again, a big kudos and thank you so much for Chiron for coming on and sharing. And if you're interested, please make sure that you do go to the show notes and pick up a copy of his new book, Coming Home: How I Courageously Loved Myself into a Life of Wonder and Ordinary Magic. And that courageously is a big one, right? Especially for us Leos. So until next week, please remember that life is too short to not be enthusiastic about your unique journey.